Hello, friends. Here we are. Tamer Talk once again. I'm Samuel Graham does TCGs, and with me are
Not about. And
Randy. You were awful quiet on the last episode. Your face popped up a fair bit, but we didn't hear a lot from you. I'll start with you then with the what have you been up to question. Get things rolling there.
Yeah, so as you all know, we're moving. That's actually happening fairly soon. We found a place and we sold our house, so everything is going right on track. So we have been packing, and that is you don't realize how much stuff you have until all the things that you own have to go into boxes. And then you're like, wow, this box looked really big until I put stuff in it. Now I still have all this other stuff that didn't fit into that box, and ad nauseam.
I didn't even put a scratch in this stuff.
Right. Right.
I was thinking when you move, you realize how much junk you have. And you're
Yeah,
like,
we've
oh my gosh, I'm only going to have to move half of this. How great.
the opportunity to rehome a lot of the stuff, which is nice.
To the dump.
Some of it did get rehomed to the dump. Because as they say, one man's junk is another man's junk.
Yeah, often more true than I would like to admit. The number of things that I've thrown out into a yard sale pile multiple times. No, this is the time. This is finally the time it's going to sell. It's not.
We've done Matt, Randy, and I have done the math and logistics on garage sales. They're a complete waste of. Just
So
Goodwill it, garbage it, or at best marketplace it, right? Like Facebook Marketplace or something. Because then you don't have to do any work. They message you, they give you the money, they come pick it up, and then.
While that may be true, I also just love doing them. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a freak that way because I think I'm the only person who enjoys it. But
you and my 82-year-old grandma.
I mean, if you like it, then more power to you. But it's like you make like 4 cents an hour, so whatever.
Yeah, garage sales are one of the 4 methods North Koreans torture prisoners of war. So liking it is.
I don't know exactly what that says about me, and I don't think this particular crew is qualified to analyze that issue tonight. Goodness gracious. Well, not about. How about you? What have you been up?
I started the arduous process Thursday. So my son wants to play basketball. We let him play in camps during like the summer and the winter, because we have camps here where we live. Well, there's also like house ball, which is, like they do basketball for kids of these age ranges all through like late fall through the start of the new year. And so I was contacting them. I was like, hey, my kid wants to play. Like, what's the skill level? What do you do, right? And Calvin's perfect for it. So they were like, we would love to have him. And one of the people who does that is also the people who like runs the camps during the summer and the winter. So he's like, dude, I'd love to have him. But we don't have a coach for that grade. So I was like, okay, yeah, I would love to do that. That would be fun. Because you have to volunteer time anyways. Like to get your kid's jersey and stuff, you have to volunteer time. We've all had to do that because we all have kids, but like your kids are in school, you have to volunteer some time. No big deal, right? To do that, though, you have to go through the school district. You have to go through the background check. You have to go through like the whole rigmarole. Because now you're officially like coaching, So you have to go through all of that. Okay, well, I just start that process this week. And then just an excessive amount of like catch up on chores. Because for those who don't know, the missus lost her job towards the end of like May. And during that period of time where she was not working, to compensate, I was working 3 different jobs. Non-Wild Heart stuff, I was working 3 different jobs. And so, knowing that she was going to go back to work, because obviously she was looking for a job to replace that, was not sustainable. Some stuff kind of fell, like weeding the yard and like basic maintenance on the garden was like happening, but not to like the standards of like, I don't like weeds with any of my gardening stuff. So like, they all gotta come out. And then like general yard maintenance. Like, guys, it's already almost halfway through August. Like where we live, we only have until like October to get all of that yard maintenance like done. So we live in a place with seasons and real weather and normal stuff, not desert hellholes. So got him. But yeah, so I had to catch up on that stuff this week as well. It's just a lot of playing catch up this week, and then the basketball stuff is exciting and fun. Like it'll be super fun, but bureaucracy. I get it though. You're interacting with other people's kids. You don't want like a murderer doing it.
That's fair. That's. I feel like that's a reasonable stance to hold.
Super reasonable.
Yep.
They're like, listen, you just can't have murdered someone, and then you're good to go. Like,
yeah.
We'll
I
see.
feel like you could raise that bar just a little too.
Just a
right,
smidge.
It will be reasonable.
Well, yeah, apparently, Randy, they don't care about like misdemeanors and stuff. So, like, you could be like a chronic shoplifter. You could, I've had 83 traffic violations. I've had, none of that stuff matters. It's the heavy stuff, right? That's the stuff they care about. So, like, okay.
That is something else. Whew. Yeah, that bar, I feel like it could use a little bit of work. I don't know. But hey, at least
you guys have better standards. Like you guys have better standards. Just admit it. All of your friends have committed many a crime, but not murder. And that's why they're okay around your kid.
That I know of. There are some that I wouldn't put it past anyway.
That's fair. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. Just super fun
Fair
stuff.
enough. Gareth, how about you?
I just got back from vacation. I took about 4 days off from work. We went out of town getting ready because my kids go back to school this week. So we went about 5 hours away. And just kind of got away, unplugged. And it was nice. We did some shopping for the kids. Did a little bit of board game shopping for myself. So it was a nice little reset. And then in the midst of that, which we'll get into later, I got to get to know Customs pretty well because me and Customs spent all of last week going back and forth, filling out all kinds of forms and learning all kinds of things that you get to learn about when you're doing things outside of just cards. So
hey, customs paperwork, Sammy. That's one of the other 3 things that North Korea has you do as a form of torture. Just customs paperwork. You just gotta fill it out, and then after you filled out all 18 pages, they come back and they're like, "You missed a notation on page 16. You gotta start all over. You gotta start all over.
You can't just fix it. You
can't fix it. It's permanent."
So what I'm hearing is Sammy might like to do the customs paperwork.
I don't know if that sounds quite as much fun.
It's the type of work you'd only it's the type of work you'd only enjoy if you were an avid garage sailor.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got into what tree did this come from? What is the genotype and what is the species? It was it was entertaining. to try to research that. And luckily, I mean, we have a great manufacturer that we work with, and so it was pretty easy to find that information. But why someone in Kentucky needs that information, okay. So
For their records.
right, but overall, I mean, it was a good time to get away, to reset, and then to kind of still do some things in the background, and then got back yesterday, and so kind of hit the ground running this week. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to.
Nice. Yeah, for me, last weekend I did my first. I'd done Sunday afternoon last year, but I did my first full 4-day Gen Con experience. Which the biggest takeaway from that was a thing called mega games, where it's 30, 40 people typically, and they have a kind of loose rule set, and they throw you in a room. So my friend and I that went with me, we had scheduled one that was like a space UN Game of like everybody represents different nations or whatever, and one of them's an imperial house. And
Is it called Mega Civ? Is that what you're playing?
no,
Was that
you send customs papers to each group, and they fill out.
there's more of that kind of thing than you would think. My buddy and I were pirates, so we had special things where we could raid people's fleets and do all this stuff. We ended up, by the end of it, we overthrew the imperial house, and a bunch of us threw our power behind somebody else, and the guy gave like his little spiel of, okay, so here's probably how the next 100 years in this universe went after all this went down once we finished playing for 6 hours. And so we loved it so much, we canceled the other stuff we had planned. That was Thursday night. We canceled the stuff we had planned for Friday night and signed up for an American Revolution mega game and did that too. So that was wild times. That was good stuff. And then we just got a new hamster this afternoon, so equally exciting.
What kind of hamster?
It's a one of the bigger, is a decent sized Syrian.
If you don't know the name, then we don't believe that you.
It's a Syrian, but it's the first brown one I've ever had. I've typically had like tan or really light colored ones, and this one looks like a really tiny black bear actually. And so we thought it was like, it looks like a little bear. We're gonna take it, and we named it Meatloaf. So we always do food names for the hamster.
Because he's the size of an individual meatloaf, if you already.
Pretty close.
I was named after the singer. It shows
my kid picked the name, and he would not understand the reference. So
I learned from Mega Games that conventions may actually just not be for.
Also.
And I genuinely mean when I say this. So, like, we at Origins played Mega Civ. And what I learned from that was, not only do I think that is also how North Koreans torture people, but that Mega Games are, like, realistically, do I know enough people to do a game almost like that, but with people I actually like here at my house? And the answer is yes. So I'd rather just do that. If I'm at the convention, I'd rather... Don't act like that. You told me you host church stuff at your house, so I know you...
Yeah, but none of them want to play a mega game.
Here's the thing I've learned about people. Here's the thing I've learned about people, Sammy. I don't care what they want. Just tell them what to do. It's not hard. Most people don't even know what they want themselves. If you invited all these people over, right, and you were like, hey guys, what should we do for dinner? I would bet my house that 80% of them would be like, well, I don't know. Because most people don't know what they like, they don't know what they want, and they don't know anything. So you could just tell them, You're coming over on Thursday. We're playing a Mega Civ game because I want you to experience North Korean torture, and we're gonna do it together. Like, that's it. And they would do it. That's what I've learned about people in general. And so, do I want to go? I'll use Origins as an example. Do I want to drive 18 hours to go to Origins, to pay however much money to stay in a hotel room, to play a game with like 40 people I don't like or know, who don't smell great? No offense. On average, most don't. And it's a game with like, it's like playing diplomacy with 50 people. It's the worst. I playing Mega Civ, and I mean this. I had more interesting, thoughtful, and mature conversations in Model UN as a 12-year-old than I had playing Mega Civ with a bunch of adults at a convention. That's not okay. And John brings up True Dungeon. The people that we were with for True Dungeon, all 3 times I tried it, were the worst. So we're batting 0 for 3. Like, why would I want to do it a 4th time?
I must have gotten lucky then, because both of my groups were great.
So, no, I learned that if mega games are what conventions were not for me.
Yeah, I think it's
That's
probably
fair.
fine then.
Couldn't do it. But I would go for like limited releases of games. But what I've noticed, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, is like since COVID, there isn't really like we're launching this game at Gen Con anymore. Like when I went to Origins in 2018, Gvader, that is when Reef came out.
Yeah.
Emerson Matsuchi was there signing copies because he had that in Century. Like there were games releasing at Origins that people were lining up for. There were no games really released this year that I heard of. And then the same applies to Gen Con. Is like there were exclusives there of like get this pin or get this, buy something from us at full MSRP at Gen Con and you get a free booster pack or you get a free, and that's great. But there were no like releases that would have warranted me driving and getting a hotel room. And that's why I say no judgment, Sammy, because like if you can enjoy it to you. But like that's why I say maybe conventions are not for me. Because if there aren't games releasing, and I don't really care about like the promo pins, and I'm not really sure why I'm spending all this money and time on travel and hotel. Because those experiences are just not something that have worked out for me in the past.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were, but I only know of one big game, and that's that Bag Builder that we've talked about.
Yeah, the DC one.
But what I was gonna say was on that one, basically it was demo the game, you could get the game at Gen Con, but then they had like a price match. So you didn't get it at Gen Con. You had to wait like a week. I think it had like a
I can
1
get
week
it.
or 2 week. Yeah, but it was you could get
all of it
for
in the
Gen
battle
Con
pass
price.
right now on their website.
Correct. That's what I was
The
gonna say.
only,
Go ahead.
yeah. The only thing they had, you could get that battle chest with everything. You could get the Superman and Lex. Was what you got for doing the Gatecrasher event, they called it. And then they had the Supergirl and Lobo set that you could buy. And everything else was exactly what you're saying. They didn't have it.
And again, I can get all of that. Now, granted, I'm paying the same price, but I'm not getting the Lex Superman thing, right? Which, I mean, we can get into whether I do or do not have the game or whether I did or didn't get rid of it. But, like, I could get all of that right now on the website for the exact same price everyone paid at Gen Con, minus the item pay to enter Gen Con, therefore sign up to be in the event to get the thing for free.
Right. Well, it's like the exclusivity of it is really what you were getting. You were getting it a week before. I think they didn't start shipping the stuff from their web store until the Tuesday after Gen Con. So you went to Gen Con, you paid the extra money, you got to play the game for best case scenario 7 days before everyone else. I mean, with shipping and depending on where you live and everything else. So I don't know, but outside of that, yeah, there was a lot of you can see it here first. It's at Gen Con. It's releasing, but then at the same time, it was on, you know, web stores and it was on things. It was just kind of the reveal or the full release was at Gen Con, but at the
I
same
mean,
time,
there was a ton of news dropped, like the fantasy flight in
That is
ton of
Right.
news dropped. But like, here's the other thing: because of the era that we live in, again, post COVID, I watched all of it at home. Like,
Well-
I wasn't in the room, and it's kind of like saying you can watch the baseball game at home, or you can like be at the game. I understand there's a different energy in the room. I get that. I'm not saying it's the same. But I'm just looking for the news here, guys. I don't need to be in the news. So
well, and the flip side is if you're doing something else, like I was hearing half of the stuff that was dropping at Gen Con online from other people anyway.
the same way that we were. The same way. So yeah,
So,
I don't know. I did hear some behind the scenes stuff though about the prices and stuff for booths. And the changes post COVID, like we're in a goofy era where there are just a lot of companies that are like here for a minute and then they're gone. And so the like pre-COVID to get a booth at Gen Con, you almost had to be registered for it like 3 years prior. Because you would have to be on the wait list. Someone who is a like recurring guest at Gen Con would then also have to not show up or not pay for their booth by X date for you to get offered that slot. That seemingly has shifted as well, and that's an interesting like industry trend, if that makes sense. So while you were there, Sammy, did it feel busier? Did it feel packed with people?
I mean, once you've got that many people in a place, I mean, they said it was the biggest crowd, biggest sellout, whatever they had. But I'm like, comparing the two, I couldn't tell the difference.
Fair enough. Did you get rained on?
A little bit here and there, not too bad.
I meant inside.
In the convention center.
Randy,
No, I managed to avoid.
Part of the ceiling was leaking and literally raining inside. I'm laughing about it, but like real talk, there were booths underneath that and publishers that were affected, and so like for that, my heart broke.
That part
but like
sucks.
I was laughing because of the pictures of like rainfall.
I
was just like, oh my god.
Now the other part was, I mean, there were still people impacted. At least that was the event hall and not the like actual vendor hall where there's so much more densely packed product. Whew. That's the only good news about that whole situation.
And you feel bad for the event staff too, because like you guys know that's not in the bind. That's not one of the drills we've like ran practice for where you're like, what if on Thursday or Friday it just rains through the roof? What if that happens?
Well, and that was the same time as there was a tornado warning dropping too. So it's like,
what then?
it
What?
was a wild weekend.
Yeah, it was just a goofy weekend. I did see people though who are from the area attending who are like, "Wow, we needed the rain, guys. We needed the."
Yeah, that's fair, totally reasonable stance.
They were like, "I can't be mad at it. We needed the rain." I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I get it."
Amazing.
Well, I'm glad you had fun at the Gen Con.
Yeah, it was a good time. All right.
I had fun.
Well, do what?
I had fun. Not.
Hey, also fair. I'm I'm honestly kind of shocked that I enjoyed that much social gaming. Because I often find myself perfectly willing to retreat back into my hidey hole and not do that anymore. So the fact that I kept doing that and then played a Star Trek Adventures session Saturday morning, um, like just had 16 odd hours of socially gaming with people rather than just slinging cards with my buddy or whatever. Granted, he was in all those things too, but it was a lot. It was a lot. But we also have some wild hearts to talk about, don't we? What kind of updates do we have for the folks today?
I have lore books. Packaging is mostly ready and done. Archive packs are all mostly done, because those are easy. But then Gareth will tell you about the other.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with the positive.
Okay,
So
always
the,
a good.
the positive is that the pins, tokens, the amazing group that we work with out of the UK, it finally made it through customs. So I have that stuff with me. That will be going in transit to Wild Hearts North very, very soon. But just to kind of show you what we've been working on. So one of the things that I love about kind of overseeing some of the production side is prototyping, is kind of doing sample runs and things like that. And so this is a pin that is an upcoming pricing for one of our lots events, which we'll talk about later. So I don't know if you can really tell, but this is, if you see them side by side, you can see this one's a little bit bigger. So what we did was I wanted to increase the size. I wanted to kind of pull out the art a little bit. And so you've got
I
the
love
Magibes,
them.
right? So you got the
They're wonderful.
sample prototype here, and then you got the final piece.
That's what.
Something as simple as one of the things that I was really excited about when we went to production is kind of a proof of concept. And so these are these deluxe tokens. And so one of the things that I liked about the deluxe tokens is you can't really see it on the video, but just the shine and just how the art came out and pops on these. And so when we did the sample, these are single sided. You can kind of see the burn marks a little bit. Kind of gives it a rustic feel for the upgraded tokens. And so we went back to the drawing board. And we're like, okay, could we upgrade to double-sided? And so these are the final tokens. Beautiful double-sided tokens.
Oh yeah.
And so again, Chris will get to have these beautiful, beautiful things very, very shortly. And so we've got the pins, we've got the tokens. Just to do another tease. So this, I don't know if you'll be able to tell side by side, but this is our tactics.
One's upside down, so it's anti-tactic.
Yeah. So yeah.
Like me.
So you can see prototype sample, tad bit bigger.
Those look slick too.
So we take it out of the package just so.
We didn't make one for Might, Sammy, because no one plays Might.
Right, exactly. So just out of the package, you can kind of see the size difference. So
Yeah.
We got these up, and there's a nice shine. Beautiful how they turned out, and of course, anytime I can throw in some love. So I got some little white hearts. So those came out amazing. Really excited about how those came out. As Chris said, the lore books, great. The publisher, or not the publisher, but the manufacturer they're working with, all of those came out great. So we'll get to kind of what we haven't addressed, and we've kind of talked about it in the podcast a couple of times, is we work with other groups, and we've tried to give our original publisher, or I'm sorry, original manufacturer some time. And we had Gen Con coming up, and we in our last update we talked about there was a move. They're kind of upgrading, and they're really kind of stepping up their production. And so we just kind of reached out and said, hey, hope the move is going well. Where are we at? And we were met with an email that basically said, y'all have gotten, you're kind of small fries for us. And so we are in the process of looking for another manufacturer, another supplier to do our cards and do our playmats. Those were something that, if you go all the way back to foundations, we were very excited to work with a local company in the Minnesota area, and someone that we wanted to grow with. We wanted to, as our company grew and as our product grew, this is something we could grow. And fortunately for them, with tariffs and everything else that's going on, their business has grown, and we just not seen the growth that they needed or expected. So it is a setback, as you've seen with the tokens. We have no intention of running away. This is something that we are going to pivot. We have some amazing people in the community and in the industry that we're looking towards, and we're working through those processes to get an answer and to get something concrete. We didn't want to just kind of kick the can and just say, well, we'll give you an update when we can, but just to try to be as transparent as possible. It's unfortunate. The company, it is something that there was writing on the wall, I guess, in the last couple of months that, hey, we're growing and we're choosing to work with bigger companies. And it's unfortunate. We are an indie company. We're a very small team. And we were really hoping that they were going to work with us and trust us. And it's one of those situations where, unfortunately, it's just not going to work out from a production perspective. And so we are pivoting. We do have the files ready. So all the files have been checked. All the files are, the layers are good to go. They're beautiful. So we are working on some of the boxes and some of the other stuff. But the actual finalization of the cards and the play mats are the two things, pretty important things, given it's a TCG. But those are two things that we are trying to navigate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this with going all the way back to foundations. Like when we started working with Artiforge, Jason was the production manager, and that dude was pretty stellar. Like he chatting with Gvader, his was like, hey man, we want to help you guys grow. We want to help you. We want to make things really special and be a part of that. And like he's no longer with us. And they're making mats for games like Riftbound. Really hard to, I mean, shoot, we can't even get like 30 people to like steadily back projects. So like it's really hard to be mad about the idea of like you won't fit us in.
Right.
Fortunately, like, the same people that produce our boxes are the same people we, are exploring and hopefully can have produce the cards. Cards are, they use a lot of the same materials and they're put together basically the exact same way, like for me, layout wise. So it's not like that big of a chore. But it is the reality of like, I mean, since Chase left Tamer Talk, the three of us have been saying to you, like, we need to grow. We need to see growth. And this is one of the reasons.
Mhm.
There's no way when we put in the series release plan, the three of us, Dawn, Chase, everyone at that point, even John, because it was like all of us sitting in a room together talking about it. The idea is that we would do the series release plan as a way to grow the game without having to like shotgun everything.
Mhm.
That plan has not worked. It just hasn't. The reality of like, you know, I forget who said it. Gvader can correct me if he knows who. But like, if you have a great game, people
Especially
are going
ready.
to play that game, and then they're going to want to just replay that game.
Right.
So like, I put Wild Hearts in front of my son. He wanted to go again and again. I can only play so many games before I have to make dinner. But like, when Randy and I would sit down and we would just have like, we would make decks, right? And we would just pick a deck, play, throw that deck off to the side, pick a deck, play. Like, you would just go. That has not been our experience with like everyone in the community. Otherwise, we would have 80 some backers, right? Of every campaign. And so that plan has not worked. And it is unlikely without Artiforge that we will be able to continue doing the series release structure. Like, it's just unlikely because they're a local company, so we can get the things when they're made. They don't really have to be shipped. We can just go pick them up. That removes an entire like fee. There's no shipping fee for that has to be built into any campaign. Yes, there's shipping to the consumer, but there's no shipping fee that we have to like, well, we have to make sure we have money for them to ship the product to us. That now has to be taken into consideration because we won't have. And at the same time, like doing the series release structure, Gvader can talk about how many SKUs it is. But like campaign to campaign, how many SKUs does that build in, bud?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that when we have a very vocal Discord at times where it's like, hey, what do you want to see? Well, we want to see card sleeves, or we want to see upgraded tokens. We want to see this or that. And so we are, as a small company, are trying to say, okay, what can we do? Where can we hit? But so just as an example of sleeves has a certain MOQ. They have to be brought in. And then when we announced the sleeves, we had, I would say, less than 10% of our backers got sleeves. So we had
Less
this
than
conversation.
10% of 26 people.
Right. So then we do art.
That's not good math there.
That's
It's
not.
It's not. And play mats, and we look at pins, and we look at all of these things. And so at some point we have to say, okay, either we can't do it, we have to grow, or we can do it, and then we as a company take a loss, and then eventually we close the shop. So it's like we have to do one of the two things. We either have to do what's best for the game, and we have to say, okay, community, this is the decision we've made. We want to keep the game alive. We want to do this. We want to pivot. We had a conversation last podcast asking for people who were excited about Wild Hearts to go, and you look at the view count of these videos, and then you look at the Discord, the follow count, and the follower count's the exact same. Like
unless one of you are juicing that
right there.
Video.
And so like we're trying to be transparent and say, look, our passion's not going anywhere. We have a passion for this world. We have games in the pipeline that we have designed, that we want to share. But we also have this product here, which we have said from the get-go is a much larger product than what you've seen. Like when the design team put this game together, the amount of cards, the amount of effects, the amount of synergies, the amount of just familiars, is over 25. I mean, it's quite a bit of familiars, and we've only seen just a section of it. And that's again because we tried to pivot. We wanted to try to grow the community, instead of shotgunning. But then we look at our competitors and we look at our peers, and it seems like that they're saying, let's just do an entire set and let's just put it out there. And if it dies, it dies. And if it doesn't, at least we had one really good campaign. And we came to the table and we said, we want to do things differently. We want to build a community. We want to build a world. And that's resonated with some, but it hasn't resonated with everyone. And so that's something that internally that we're trying to discuss and trying to understand, where is that gap? Because we are lore first and we're trying to say, okay, this makes sense. And there's things, there's a game that the design team put together, say, okay, well, how does this particular thing work in world? How does it make sense? What is the reasoning for? I went to a game store this past week and there's absolutely no theme on a lot of these games, and these games are selling. So it's like, are we doing something wrong? Should I just create a 52 card deck game with some flashy art and call it a game? And that sell? Because apparently having something that's deep in lore that matters to us isn't resonating with certain things. And so that's something that we're working on. And the reality of it is, when you are trying to move manufacturers and you try to move logistics and trying to say, okay, it's one thing to make an X amount of lore books or pins or things like that. But when you're trying to make a full blown card game, there are certain numbers that you need to hit. You need to make certain amount of cards for it to make sense, certain amount of play mats for it to make sense. And that's kind of the reality. Like, that's as transparent as we can be. Like, that's the reality we're in right now. We have ideas. We have art assets that people haven't seen. We have some amazing familiars. I'm very biased, but there's some amazing familiars coming up that currently are set for set 4. And it's like, I don't want to wait an entire year for us to build this community. So, when we've been trying to build that, and we have these ideas of these games. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. We're kind of in that limbo. And so I do think that, as much as this is a setback for us of trying to figure out, for me, there is some clarity. There is some clarity of Artiforge not kind of saying, okay, well, we might can fit you in or we might can't. Just full transparency. Like, we've been having this conversation since April, May, trying to hammer things down and pushing on them. And it just kept getting pushed. And, we had to launch the campaign, and we were transparent, and we said, hey, we're making 90% of the game, but the actual cards is the issue, which is the meat of the game itself. And so we have all of these peripherals, but yet we don't have the actual game. And so that's the frustrating part for me on the production side, is I want these cards in y'all's hands. We want these cards being played, being revealed, being shown. And so we are working passionately behind the scenes to try to get some answers and to try to get some things moving. I will say, one of the great things is the ones we're looking at right now have a really good turnarounds. And this is not something that if we pivot and we say, okay, we're going to go to this, and now all this extra money that we've now, have to pay, we're going to recharge the backers. That's not even on the table right now. It may impact series 2, it may impact the future, but it's not going to impact right now. That's not the intent. The intent is not to swindle and to try to get more money from our backers. They've supported us, and we're going to get this product out to them.
So a lot.
Another tough spot to be in too, though.
Yeah.
Well,
Is it
I mean, from the perspective of dollars and cents, more than just doing the right thing or right thing.
some of it's consolidation, right? Like, if it's the same people producing our boxes that make the cards, does it like, we're already getting stuff from them that are like the boxes. Is it that big of a deal that packages now the cards? Not really. Is it you know, hard that it changes future plans. I don't, like selfishly, I'll say for me, I don't think so. Like I asked you, and everyone else, question of the day, like, what do you guys think of the series release thing? And it's like, listen, I love that there are a few people that like them, but there are actually other ways to do this. Like the TCG, literally, do the math. If it's 68 minimum pieces of art per series, and we do 4 series, technically set 1 will have 5 because series 0. And series 0 actually had more pieces of art than any other series would have because it had. That's more art than I or anyone on the team would have to produce to do 2 board games and 1 TCG set a year, just the full set. Because the full set is like, let's say it's the full set that it is now. It's 200 and change pieces of art, 220 or whatever pieces of art. Do the alphas, do the alternates. Now it's 230 or whatever. That's way less than like 70 times 4. And then you add in that a lot of the alternate arts that are used, or a lot of the art that's used, also feeds into like the board games. Like, it's not, and it's just a lot of work. Like every time we do, and that's not a complaint, but it's a lot of work that every series we do multiple events, we do the campaign, we have to print, assemble, manufacture, send out, and that's awesome. But at like 20 some people, we can't, you know what I mean? You gotta look for a different way. You gotta look for a different way. So I don't, for me, it's not bad, selfishly. And then I can stop listening to people grade cards incorrectly. You know?
I don't know what you're talking.
Or pretend that cards that are released aren't equally good at the moment they're released as well as through the set as a whole. Like they weren't carefully curated to be released when they were.
Never heard of it. Couldn't possibly understand that reference. I don't know what's going on.
And if you're curious, yes, Randy is quiet because he's seething about the whole thing. Just like he was last week.
No, it will be nice though to not have to tell people that, like, cards that are good now actually come more online as the series progress, because the cards that really make them feel great, like Infernander, for example, right? Like as we go, like there's cards that you'll see that make Infernander like become better and better and better and better and better. And it's one of these cards like, we had the Roost event, and I'm really glad we had the Roost event when we did, because if we had the Roost event in like Series 4, after all these cards are out, and then we give the, the Infernander, the Roost as well, we probably actually would have seen all Infernanders all the time, which we probably should have, realistically, but it's one of those things. So doing the whole set in one big bundle will make it so people are able to do all that kind of deck building all at once and figure all that out.
It also opens the door to, I know, one of the questions that I saw, so put a pin in that one, right?
Yeah, and I think just having conversations with the design team. I know that the design, and we've said this before, so it's not like we don't design it by series. It's we designed everything as one set. We designed set 2 to complement set 1, not series 1 of set 2. We designed the holistically design, and so one of the frustrating parts from a backer and from a community member, I had a conversation with someone I was playing. I was like, "Well, just wait." And it was like, "I'm kind of," and they said to me, "We're kind of tired of you just saying that. Like you're teasing a future card." It's like I get it. Like this is the burden that we created when we did the series. And so for me, selfishly, I would love to see the entire set released, because I believe in the holistic set that was created by the team, and just the way it complements, the way it sings, the way that people value different cards. Even in the starter set, the starter set existed as a full set, not a series zero. And so there's little things like that. I want that light bulb to go off. Oh, this is what Gareth was talking about when he said this, or this is what Chris or Randy, whoever, this is what they were talking about when the team. Because it is something that we're proud of. It is something that we have to kind of contain that excitement. It's like, oh, only if you had the, that one, that we can't talk about. So, it's exciting. It's the series model, and I've said to CJP, if we launch this podcast and then next thing we know, we log on and there's 150 people following the campaign, that's a different conversation. But
there is not.
There's not. But when people are excited about the game verbally, and then it is a numbers game. When we go to Kickstarter and we see how many people are following, it's like, okay, your excitement that you're telling me you have doesn't translate to actually, data. And so that's the thing, is we have to start making decisions off of data. One of the key points, there's a member on the design team who's really passionate about designing based on feelings, and creating, stupid cards and overpowered, and just, hey, can we do this? And so, having that feeling, and then another member of the team comes in with the data and says, okay, does this make sense? Is this balanced? Let's tone it down a little bit. Or, I think we can pull that off. Let's create this other card to kind of be the silver bullet. And so if every card has a silver bullet, then there are no silver bullets. And so that's kind of the way that we designed. And I think that's how we now need to start approaching. Yes, the feeling is the series is exciting, but what does the data show? Does the data show that it makes sense for us moving forward? Does the data show that we should pivot to board games? Does the data show this or that? And so I think that as we tackle the finalization of the rest of Series 1 campaign, there is going to be some of that conversation with the community and with the staff of saying, okay, let's look at what the data actually shows.
Yeah. That could be a huge thing.
That was a lot when you asked that question. So,
yeah. I mean, I will say the interesting part of doing the smaller series is you get different, as we do these tournaments, right? You see various familiars become popular in ways that I don't think they would have been had the whole set been released all at once, right? Like we had a bunch of.
I will push back on that. I'm going to reference a game you guys may or may not have heard of called Sorcery. Sorcery has one set a year. Sorcery has tournaments that happen all year, and there are ebbs and flows as to which decks rise to the top and which decks get used and which decks get played. Because then, let's go tournament number 1, year 1 of Sorcery. Earth deck or whatever wins. And now everyone is kind of solving for Earth, but then whatever deck solved that is the next one everyone's solving for. And the meta remained fluid for the entire year. I don't know that that's true. I feel like because Gvader, do we say can I say the familiar total again?
32.
Okay, so because there's 32 familiars, let's do it like this. The finals of whatever the Lots event, and we can talk about that later, whatever the finals were. Let's say we go back and it's Sammy and it's Simba and it's, Chrism, Glacifly, and Trossum. God, Trossum, Chrism?
Yeah, try not to reveal any. There's
Next tournament, everyone is looking at that familiar roster and they're looking at those cards going, Prism was present were all solving for Chrism. He was present in both decks. Everyone that isn't those two is now solving for Chrism. And then you look at everyone else as going, how do I answer Trossum or how do I answer Blaze of Fly? Those two answers are wildly different, but okay. But you're looking at how to answer those things. And so now the decks going into the next Lops tournament have now shifted. And now let's go back to where we were. Let's say one of those decks, right? Because we've had it. Simba's won, Sammy's won, Simba's won. Now let's say John has won one. John may win another. We haven't even talked about that. John and Chase are representing, and there are 3 familiars that have not been in a finals before. We have Vesperoon, Kindolf, and the dang Tarantula, who have not hit a finals, and 2 of them have been here since Series 0. And so now are you solving for those? Going like, I didn't have an answer for Kindolf. What do I do about Kindolf? I don't know that you wouldn't have fluid changes and you wouldn't have people picking different things, realizing, you know what, I don't think Badoo Majabi worked the way I wanted it to. And so next event, it didn't answer any of the top decks. Next event, I need a different lineup. And I don't know if one see that like we see in Source.
Which, I mean, I think we would see it to some extent. I just don't think we'd see like 9 spiders. You know what I mean?
Well, see, that's the thing that annoys me about the series release. I didn't want to see 9 spiders.
Right.
Card of the week. That is going to be my rant this week, and it's Tarantula is not my card of the week, but like that's going to be my rant. Is like I didn't want to see that. I actually think that way of doing it is like, I'm not trying to be mean, but it makes it feel very lowest common denominator. Like of these 4 familiars that you're aware of, this is the one that like lizard brain immediately appealed to you and you had to make a deck with it. And then that's the one that lowest common denominator everyone would then pick. It's the Simpsons of familiars when Family Guy was better. American Dad was better. The Simpsons is the worst of the animated 20. You know what I mean? That was the one that seemingly had a ton of viewers for no reason. I'm throwing Tarantula in there. It is that. Most people, as Shockwave brought up, most people didn't even realize how to use it correctly. They were just like, well, we'll put a spider in there. And it's not like they're even spider passionate, because if they saw one in the shower, they'd have killed it.
Yeah, no, I 100% saw the spider and was like, I'm playing the spider, so I can't even argue with you. I don't.
Yeah, you know, I think people saw the spider. I think people saw, you know, Burberry, and they're just like, well, we're gonna.
No one played Burberry. Stop that. No one used it but John. Stop that rant.
Okay, so I don't know then.
Don't let him. No, stand your ground, right?
So, you know, how many people use the spider with Primus Forest at least?
None.
Right?
Not any. There is 0 Primus Forest being played in the Lops event. 0.
There's one in the reserve deck, I think.
There is one in a reserve deck that saw 0 plays.
Is it Sam's? I forgot who it was. Someone has Primus as reserve. I thought it was hilarious. Yes. No, I don't know if that's where Randy. I don't know if that's where Randy was going, but I get the idea of you have a very. It's almost like we're telling people, hey, this is what's hot for this month. Pick from this area, and you're limiting the decision points, and so it's almost, you know, to kind of poke at Sammy a little bit. It's almost like, oh, you know, 8-legged kitty. I want that spider, and it's an impulse. It's an impulse, and I think we have created that. I do, and whether that's good or bad, that's debatable. But I do think that we have created that based on the fact that everyone saw the spider and was like, oh, I want to try that. I think that's game breaking. I think that's overpowered. And then you put them in a tournament and you're like, no, it's not overpowered. You just got crushed. So
yeah,
And then the irony is, I paired it with Snydro, and I liked Snydro better.
Yes, Snydro is awesome. So realistically, and follow the logic here as well, then Randy. Realistically, would you, if you released one set a year, would you stop doing living organized play events? And I think the answer that we all talked about is absolutely not. So now you have the opportunity, and this is, I'm not spoiling anything. I'm just maybe pulling the curtain back from conversations we've had. Now you have the opportunity of, let's say, if you did do one set a year, this is all hypothetical. Gareth says, guys, we're doing one set a year. Here's the campaign. Boom. We're supporting the game throughout the year, though. Let's say you had 4 seasons of LOPS events like we already do. Every one of those seasons still did what we're currently doing, where we changed the game in some way. If you had a full roster of 32 familiars and you look at the way we've currently changed it, you would agree, Randy, that there would be shifts in what familiars are used based on, we made you pick this mastery card. We made you play with the rooftops. And now, what if we get into the let's go Fantasy Flight L5R territory here? You can't use the Chrism in this event. You actually can't use it. Your Chrism was injured in whatever the story dictates. And again, that's not a joke. I'm literally saying, and I'm using the Chrism as an example, because I'm not allowed to talk about future familiars, as Gvader just said. So I'm using the Chrism as an example. Whatever the story is, the Chrism jumps in the way, Randy, of you being hit by the dark magic that the Harai group is using. Your Chrism sidelined for this event. You are now forced to use your 2 other closest creatures. Chrism will be back next event, but for this event, we're saying
Right.
Well, yeah, the beauty with the LOPS events is we can do all sorts of asymmetrical stuff. Like we can ban certain familiars. We can even do things like, you know, of these participants, right? Like maybe even like, or like we did the one for the starter deck familiar, right? Where the first person got to pick a familiar, and then they got to pick first, and then they got to pick their familiar last, and then everyone kind of went back and forth, so people are picking familiars and they can't double up. So there's all sorts of things we can do with that, and I think that'll also help keep the game very fresh with these events.
Now, let me tease the thing, Gareth. What if we did LOPS exclusive boosters, Randy, that functioned like those gear packs in those WoW raid decks? Where now, by participating, we're not telling you get alternate foils. We're telling you it's literally like a loot.
Right. And if they don't get it in these events, right, like they'll have to wait until the next set drops,
Kick rocks.
essentially. So
So there's a ton of options. This is why
Yeah, and I not to keep plugging the lore book because that seemed like that's the easy answer.
Always
Like-
plug the lore book.
read the lore book, guys.
But seasons matter. Seasons matter. There's a story to be told. The Harai group has barely been mentioned and scratched at. There are already in world. There's championships. There's different tournaments, and so there's things that we have intentionally built. The team has intentionally built for us to stay on course, and so whether it's a full set, whether it's series, that's in play. I know that there are things in the works from the design team when it comes to currently set 2 and some promotional stuff. What if there wasn't 3 fields? What if all 3 fields were the same field? Maybe it's the north side of the field, the east side of the field, and the west side of the field, and it's one big arena. And then you start getting to the lore of, maybe it's not the summoning stones or some of these the geostones that created. Maybe you're just in the maybe you're in the Mirelands. You never know. So there's things that could be in play that I think that we could easily pivot from a design team and from a vision perspective, that doesn't change. The only thing that potentially
my
changes.
My point was that it's not all doom and gloom, right?
Correct.
Like if there were things that had to change, it opens doors, as you know, as it closes some, it opens a bunch.
Always fair.
That's all.
Always a fair point. So that's been a whole lot about the TCG. Did you have anything you wanted to talk about champions or anything else?
Is there anything you want to talk about regarding champion?
So
Walk us through it, Sammy.
I haven't gotten to do that yet.
I said make time this
So I
week.
don't
What did
think
you
I
say?
can.
You said, chew on this, bozo. I'm not making time for you.
I'm sorry.
That's literally what he said. Screenshots.
That is not literally what I said at all.
So I don't have time for you.
That is literally not what I said.
Okay, so I will say we're gonna throw some stuff up on the screen. So everyone's face is gonna be covered by graphics in the post. Do it editing in the post. So Champions is this amazing game, and we've done deck building games before. So this is not like a shock to the system or anything crazy. It's not a shock to the system or anything crazy. The Champions is a deck building game where you, the player, and we teased this last time, get to play as your favorite tamers from the Wild Hearts lore. Gareth, who's your favorite tamer?
That's been announced. Valentina.
Sure. So you would get to play as Valentina. Valentina comes into the game, and every creature and tamer do. Because it's a deck building game, we all have starting decks. Those are symmetrical at the beginning. Everyone's decks are the exact same. Here are your 12 cards. It's great. But when Gareth picks Valentina, she has a card that during setup replaces one of the cards in his starting deck. So his deck is already going to be different than yours, Sammy. Then Valentina is also going to have these 9 cards that go into your arena deck. These 9 cards are kind of colloquial called a common, uncommon, and a rare, because they escalate not only in cost during the game to get them, complexity, but also copies that would show up. So a rare card would only have 2 copies in your arena deck, uncommon 3, common 4. And Nally is going to do this fun thing. Let's say you two are squaring off, where you guys are going to pick your favorite creatures. And when I say favorite creatures, I mean ones that we have deemed are cool enough to be in Champions. Not your favorites. Those aren't in it.
Yours, yeah.
They're not. Spoiler, they're not. But let's say, for instance, you picked my guy, the Warder. So if you were to pick the Warder, and so everyone can have fun with this, you were to pick the Warder, what should be coming up on screen is what we refer to as the Warder's entire kit. And so similar to Valentina, the Warder is going to have 1 card, Momentum, which costs 0, and it has a setup function at the bottom. Why? Because during setup, this replaces one of your basic starting cards. So again, we're in a deck builder. You're going to pick 3 creatures and a tamer. We're going to have asymmetrical decks. We started off with the same 12, but now 4 of them are getting replaced. At least. Who knows what kooky stuff the design team will come up with that's busted, like someone telling another someone in this chat, oh, what if we replace 2? And then we're like, how do we make that work math-wise? Well, we'll figure it out, I guess. So Momentum replaces a tackle, and that's like sort of your basic generation of attack in the game. except for the Warders does something different. A tackle is just a tackle. The Warder's card is not. And his whole kit kind of functions around like top deck cards. And so his basic card is like, yeah, you look at the top of the deck and you might discard it. And if it costs 1 or more, you get a bonus to your attack. And that's kind of cool. And you read that and you're like, okay, whatever. But then you look at his common card is called Power Up. And that card has this really neat effect where when it comes out into the arena, there's this section at the bottom of the card. And every card is kind of multi-purpose because they're going to have an effect when they enter the arena and when they're in the arena, which is like your market. And then they're going to have the top portion, which is when they're in your deck. What do they do when you're in your deck? Well, when this is in the market, it has an effect called build up. So when you buy it normally in a deck builder, cards go to your discard, then they get cycled through your deck. Not the Warder. This card goes right to the top of his deck. That's what build up.
Okay.
But then it also has this thing called strike. So let's say you're lazy and you're not really attacking any of Gareth's stuff. And his stuff just keeps coming out of his arena deck and going further and further down his row. What happens when it exits the row? It enters the strike zone. And so this Warder card gets a bonus. Power Up gets a bonus. Boom, when it hits the strike zone. And then, Gareth, do you want to talk about that middle section with the style synergy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, when it comes to when you're playing cards out, so you have a deck or you have a hand and you're playing it out, what order you play those cards matters. And so whether or not you play, a might card uh, first and then making that trigger. So you play a might card first, then in this particular case of the power up, you're going to be able to reveal another card, and then you can do different things with it. So it's one of those things where as you're playing, not only are you focused on what those cards are, but also what kind of synergies can you build? Which ones do you care about when it goes into the strike? And so there's so much dynamic when it comes to not only being concerned about how you're building your deck, but also making sure you're looking out for that board presence on both your side and your opponent's side.
Which
Very,
then
very
brings
dynamic.
up, which then brings up, you'll notice the little star over his portrait. And that star is victory points if you counter Gareth's power up. So while this is in his row, that 3 in the upper right is how much of the lightning bolt, how much energy he needs to gain that card and add it to his deck. And that
Right.
3 is also how much attack you need to counter his power up. And when you counter it, it goes into your pile. You scored at the end of the game. That's a point for you. And you'll notice as the cards go up, we've got power up, we've got tail swipe, we've got tusk charge. Those cards are going to be worth different victory points. And those victory points are obviously like 1, 2, or 3, depending on how much you had to hit them with. And then at the same time, you're going to notice the cards are sort of colored based on their style. There's a style in there that's not currently in the TCG on Power Up. It's more of an intangible style, so it's not represented in the TCG the way that it is in this game. And so yeah, those cards kind of make up the Warder's kit. And you'll notice like Tusk Charge says you can put a card from your hand on the top of your deck to gain additional attack, which then synergizes with Power Up or his basic card, because those reveal the top of the deck and maybe discard it for a bonus. So even in his own kit, you're synergizing top deck strategy. But now, Garrett just said he's going to play Valentina. So what does Valentina have that she adds to this? And that's kind of the fun of the game is picking your favorite creatures, your favorite tamer, and slapping them together for convenience.
Yeah.
We'll go back to the cameras for convenience. Let's say you're Gareth and you took Valentina. We have this really nice card that tells you what styles she has. Here's a little flavor because we love lore. And then here's what styles she needs to really pop off with her cards. And so then you look at like, oh, what if you were to play her with the Tortu? And you can kind of line up those tops and see who has what styles of cards and who has what synergies they need. So even just if you were drafting creatures and tamers, sitting at the kitchen table, you would be able to tell who synergizes with what. Spoiler, yes, Tortu's clearly in the game. You saw the card. Tigrin is in the game.
I didn't see any.
Jimmy, if you're watching, Tigrin's in the game. Confirmation. You're going to have to back. As he said, he has to. Tigrin's in the game, guys.
Yeah, and I think one of the things having a conversation with the design team was you can play this strictly thematic, and you can look and go, okay, is there a Pandarlet? Is there a creature that pairs up with Valentina similar to Aces in the Tamer challenge? Is there Furion? Is there a Kindle? Or in this case, is there a Warder and is there a Tortu? And so there's different options. Yep. So there's different ways that you can either play super thematic, or you can just say, you know what, that creature looks really cute. I want that one, and I really like the art, so I want Camille, or I want Celeste, and so you're able to pick different characters. And again, this goes back into
Tamer challenge.
Yeah, there you go. There's Titus. And so when we have these conversations of player expression, these are ways we do that. These are ways we have creatures and characters in our world, and you're able to pick. Do you lean more towards the style and the look or whatever of Titus, of Celeste, of whoever? And so you're able to pick and choose that, and then optionally, if you want to draft, you can draft. If me and my daughter are playing, and she just really leans towards, she really likes dinosaurs. Okay, well, maybe you grab the raptor and move on. And so there's all kinds of player expression with champions, and it's something that's very exciting.
The plug and play aspect of just give me Titus, give me a Rapture, give me a Tortu, and give me a Kindle. Plug and play aspect of that, you're getting into the table.
And I like that a lot, honestly, because I think back to my old days playing Hero Clicks, where sometimes I wanted to play that comic accurate X-Men team, and sometimes I wanted to play with Superman, Wolverine, Striker, Eureka from Pacific Rim, and like whatever.
Why is Ryu on your team from Street?
Right, exactly. Like sometimes I just wanted to go, all right, I'm throwing just nonsense, all my favorites from whatever different stuff. So I like that, again, the ability to do both is always fun. I like that.
Yeah, like you can definitely, what's cool is if you like finding synergies and really like getting into like how different creatures and tamers can work together for optimal, you can definitely spend the time and do that in there. Last time I play tested, I just grabbed 4 random things. I grabbed a random tamer, and I grabbed three, and then just 3 random creatures, and I just ran with it. And I mean, it wasn't as optimal, but it still felt good and it was still fun. And I didn't do terribly. I didn't win, but I didn't do terribly.
No, and he's not joking when he said literally, I'll take this tamer, I'll take this creature, and this one, and let's see what happens.
Love it.
Yeah, I will say one of the, similar to Randy, last time I played, I remember I put some things together, and then I was playing and trying to find the synergies. And I think it's like halfway through the game, I realized that I was playing a competitive game, because it was like I was trying to figure out my deck. And I was like, all right, oh yeah, that's right. We're competing to see who wins. I have not been paying attention to that. I've just been over here.
I've just been buying things and cool powers and synergizing them. What?
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. We are supposed to be competing for the most VP. So it is that too.
So yeah, it is a competitive game, and yes, I will say, because we keep talking about theme, I will just say TCG does a really good job. You go back to the earliest interview, and Randy is like hammered home. You are the tamer. Player expression. We want you, Sammy, to feel like these are your familiars, and this is you in the world. And I think the TCG does a really good job of that. This game, though, takes sort of a lateral approach of like, we've asked you to read the lore book, we've asked you to be invested in the lore, we've asked you to like find your favorite creatures. Do you ever just really want to like, yes, be Titus?
Yeah.
And play as Titus?
Yeah.
If you have, do you love Camille? Do you love Valentina? Because if so, like, this will be the game for those people who like just really want to plug and play their favorite characters in the book and their favorite creatures. And hey, guys, there's 100 creatures in the book. I'm telling you, because I don't want his heart to be broken, that Glycifly and Chrism are not there right now. I said right now. You all heard it. Right now.
That doesn't mean there's not a golem, though. Just not.
It doesn't. Yes, it doesn't mean there's not a golem in the game that you can have and hit people.
That's an interesting point.
It's like having Chrism. Actually, he feels Chrism.
Yeah.
He does feel Chrism, but
Okay.
there are a couple of differences build-wise and kit-wise that I think if we were putting Chrism in here, he would probably have a little more protection, whereas this guy is a little more knocky, punch-out type of...
Okay. That makes sense.
If you got Rock Fist, Sammy, you gotta swing him. You gotta swing him.
I appreciate that. No, that's fair to say.
Gotta be done. But yeah, we're really excited about it. It's really cool. There's another game, though, that Gvader wanted to talk about. Gareth, hit it, babe.
Which one? Summoning?
The Summoner!
Oh, yeah, okay. We have a lot. Yeah,
Fine,
so one of the really big renaissance recently has been trick-taking games. And so one of the things that I have been for years really intrigued by was, looking at The Witcher and looking at different games where in-lore, in-world games. And what does that look like in Wild Hearts? If there was a game that existed within the world, what would it look like? And so we've been tweaking and messing with a very fun, kind of punchy, much quicker trick taking game that in Wild Hearts, as the art style is very reminiscent of, this would be something that someone in the world would create. And it opens up the world of saying, one of the games, think of like the rummies and the trick taking and set collection, and there's so many such easy games that you can just pop open, really simple rule set that you can play with your family, that you can play with a group of friends, and really just kind of introduce them to the world. So from a lore perspective, it's more flavor text of this is why this games exist. But as you're playing it out and you're trying to distill, if you were sitting in a tavern and you were listening, to someone tell some stories about some tamers, and you were sitting at the table, and you took out your deck of cards and you were kind of playing it around and saying, hey, well, if I were to play this, Ignice in here, well, I'm gonna play this, for awesome. And so you're kind of looking at these values and comparing and trying to create this tug of war going back and forth, but in a much simpler, distilled, immediate experience. It's meant to be kind of the kitchen table, have a drink, enjoy the company that comes along with playing a trick taking game. And so something that I'm excited about. I want, looking forward to revealing more as things go out. And I do think that this is something that is, as we look at from an art perspective, this is what it looks like in mainland Tetrim. Well, what if someone in up north plays the game? Does it look different? Do they have more winter type creatures? Does it look different in Frontier Islands? Does it look different here or there? So as we kind of grow and as the world kind of builds out, I think that because it's creature based, mainly the cards are creatures. There is some drafting mechanics, and so from a thematic perspective, as you are drafting these cards, these tamers, and these magic cards or these item cards, they're more for the thematic of determining, okay, what is the trump suit. And so if you're more of a might tactics, okay, then you have a special effect when you win the trick with a might card. Or maybe you lose a trick with a might card and you want to lose that trick because it's going to trigger your ability. So there's that dynamics, and so that's kind of where you kind of enter into that theme and enter that thematic. And so really looking forward to sharing more because I do think that it's kind of a punchy game, and it has some meat. Like I said, you can do the drafting, you can do that, or you can just grab 2 cards, put them together, and deal out some cards and get started pretty easily. So
I'm intrigued by that for sure. I definitely look forward to hearing more. The only of the modern, I guess, run of trick taking games I've played is the Lord of the Rings one, which I enjoyed a bit when I played it. So I'm looking forward to see what comes out from Wild Hearts. That sounds
I
like
like Lord of the Rings, and I even like that game.
hey, there you go. That's a weird statement, but also
That's not. When Randy's done moving, Randy, what are we doing when you're done moving? What are we working?
We are working on a RPG.
Resurgence. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild.
Hearts. The RPG.
Yes, it's gonna be great.
Now, Randy has to finish moving, guys, before we can do that. Before we can really dig into that, it requires all of the brains behind Wild Hearts games to really be unleashed from the tether of the moving boxes.
Yeah, RPGs are a ton of work, and we've had Chris and I've had some conversations already, and I'm extremely excited with, I was just kind of wondering where he was at, and I think we're already kind of like very much on the same page with how we're gonna go forward with this. So I'm extremely excited for it. It's gonna be great. Can't wait till I can tell you more.
I'm excited for that as well.
Many things in the chamber.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, with all that, I think we need to come back to the TCG again and see what everybody's got in terms of a card of the week.
You went last for personal stories, so you're going first with card of the week. Plus, people don't want to hear the three of us talk more.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, I can absolutely go first with my card of the week, and it's probably a little bit of a surprise one because it's another card that is not a style that I have played on camera for one of the Lops events. I have had it wreck me on camera in a Lops event. However, we are going to talk about Croc. One of those cards that I look at it and at first glance I'm like, man, that 3 cost, that 7 power. Oh, he's a guardian, I guess. But man, did I just get wrecked by his debut ability. He's a stout guardian to start with, but then all players shuffle their hand into their deck, then draw that many cards from their deck. So when this hit me playing against Axcarius, I had 1 card I could play in my hand. That might have saved my bacon a little bit, at least kept things going a little bit longer because I had one resource left and one resource card to play. And when I redrew 7 cards, I did not have a 1 resource card to play anymore, and the game was over. So Croc as a finisher in particular is really impressive to me after getting my face bashed in by it. So I'm giving props to a card. With Sifid, I did it because I won games that I played Sifid. I'm gonna call out Croc as the one that I lose games when Croc is played again.
I don't know how to say I told you so, but
Yes.
I feel like every single card that everyone says is ends up just, again, I just kind of have to go.
Croc is one
main.
of those cards that if someone plans really deep and you play Croc, you're gonna really mess them up. There's a person in this community, I was playing a game against them and they used Croc with Vesperoon and I didn't remove Croc right away. And then Vesperoon kept triggering Croc every round. And there was just no planning that was done on my part. I just actually never really drew into that removal to get rid of it after a certain point. It was just really, and then you just, you know.
That's pretty slick. Yeah.
Chaos Engine.
How many games do you think we've watched, Gvader, where people have lost because they didn't have the cards they needed?
Yeah.
So mid-game mulligans are not good. That's what I learned because no one was playing it. Mid-game mulligans are not good. Then I know you made the point, Randy, of it's a guardian, and everyone was like, well, then it has to be targeted. Hey, spoiler alert, guys, it's a 7-power creature. It was going to be targeted whether it had guardian or not. So it having guardian is still a good thing. You cannot be momentum shifted. You cannot be skyred. No one can blast down your familiar with special attacks. The Croc is in the way. Croc can be reset by your Glaciafly, Sammy. You play special ferocity, rolling into that Croc. You are a baddie. You wanna special attack my Croc down to a 0? Waste your 7, because I'm gonna reset him. He's also tame wild. We talked about this a long time ago. He is tame and wild, so you can move him with the guide. On top of that, if you're playing Might Ferocity, which is an absolute treat to play, bounce orbing this dude is like a free, whatever you have on the board is dead. Because there's a 7-power base. So do you have a 7-power or less creature? Yes, it's dead. Also, he's tame and wild. So I'll take that VP, I'll get to Seek, I'll also give power to my familiar.
See, your mistake was talking about bounce orb there, though, because that's a problem. That's real.
Even outside of bounce orb,
Flashbacks, the PTSD of Sammy.
if you're running Might, you're probably maybe running Sylph Amulet, and it's a big 7-power guardian. Someone gets rid of it. Just
Bring that sucker back.
Coming home. Baby's coming home. And Papa gets a new hand.
Yeah. No, I like me some Croc.
I've never understood that. I don't play Croc. He's a 3. He is Guardian. You're just naming reasons to play him. That's all you're doing.
Well, and I will say the decks I've built to play around with, the deck I built for my youngster and stuff like that, I put Croc in there. So
he's also an easy target for some. Like you just get a free 5 Guardian on deck, then you mulligan.
hey,
Yeah. Let's go. And then you got him for 2. You only paid 2 for him. Yeah, the amount of times that we've seen people just like, I don't have anything I can play mid-game. You know what would solve that is if you had another mulligan. mid-game, which the Croc does. And
Yep.
as Randy pointed out, the Croc might also muck your opponent's plan.
Yep.
I mean, there is the rare chance, right, where like you play the Croc, and then your opponent mulligans their hand, and then they get all the cards they needed to win.
So
That
far,
happens
that's
a lot,
never
though.
happened. It's never happened so far.
No, I even got to draw. It was even 7 cards,
Yeah.
and I still didn't get a single thing I could play.
The only one that has ever said out loud, "Ooh, thanks for playing that Croc," is me, and every time I do, I'm lying so you feel bad for playing the Croc. I actually did mess up my hand. You're a jerk for playing him, but I'm trying to make you feel bad.
That's funny.
Gareth, you love the
I do love the Croc, yes. I love the chaos.
Just for your lies, for lying to people about being glad about Croc, you have to go next.
It's the Badoo, guys. Listen, this thing. Okay. Should we editor put the screenshot maybe up of question of the day? When Badoo was revealed, Chase revealed it. I distinctly remember being told of the 4 that had been revealed, Tarantula hadn't been yet, in its defense. But of the 3 that had been revealed, Badoo was the one everyone was like, "Wow, that's busted. That's a busted card. I don't know why Tactics keeps getting all these busted
Because
cards."
it's Tactics. I mean, that's just.
How many people are playing the Badoo in the Lops event? Bud. 0. The Badoo puts an item card back in your deck. Yeah, it's got to cost 1 or more. But it puts an item card back in your deck. You shuffle and you draw. Sylph Amulet, Fury Potion, Alistair's Guide. I mean, guys, like how many one Bounce Orb?
Enchanted Draft.
Enchanted Draft? How many one-costers would you want to put back in your deck? And you know what? Even if it wasn't a one-coster and you were that guy that's like, you know what? I'm playing Sammy. You're like, I'm dropping a Volt Rock. That card is back in your deck and you draw. Does no one like draw?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, all I heard, and I'm going to call out JJ and his freaking crocodile tears, because all I heard is everyone complain up and down, Griffin's Crag is so oppressive, it's so bad. You know what's awesome? Putting your Badoo in the field next to the Crag, and then you just, Burberry Springs, Randy. My creature's not aquatic. How do I do it? Well, you play the creature to the Badoo's field, do the debut. And then the Badoo moves it into the Crag or into the spring. So now their power is there, but you didn't lose their debut. Or in the case of the Crag, you couldn't play them there if they were a 2 or less. You just don't play them there and get to move them there. The Badoo is so good. What's the matter with you people?
Okay, and I will say as a spoiler for next thing I try, there is a distinctly non-zero chance that Badoo is part of what I am looking.
Yeah, I want to play Badoo Snide.
Well, you should make people play against your bloody Magibee Badoo deck. People will.
You know what's funny is no one thinks that works because one wants items and one wants magic. But I tell you what, it is the most fun deck I have played in like 6 to 8 months. It's ridiculous how cool it is.
It's one of those decks that when you're watching him play, you're like, that is so fun, and you're like, it is so not fun being where I am at right now. That is how that deck feels. Because he's like doing all these things and it looks so fun and cool, and you're just like, yeah.
That's how you lose.
I'm
So yeah,
losing.
Badoo. I don't get it, guys. Everyone went for Tarantula. It's like the amount of removal you need to really abuse Tarantula and get that VP is a lot. And none of y'all use the Forest or the Burberry Springs. So, like, no one really used it correctly. Badoo is like idiot proof. Do you have items in your deck? Put them back in your deck and draw.
See, Badoo's problem though was just not having enough legs.
It has 4,
It needed.
but it surfs.
You need to make a
Fair
card
point.
now that's 2
It's
Badoo's, so it has 8 legs.
I don't get it. All right, get out of here. I've talked enough. But it is the best. You guys are crazy for not using it.
Fair enough. Randy, what do you got?
I have Magical Melody.
Ooh.
The 2-cast Ferocity card that's both skill and magic. You discard the top 3 cards of your deck, and you choose 3 different effects in any order. You play a discarded 1 or less cost ally card to give it a +2, or you trigger a discarded KO effect, or or you play a 1 or less cost Tamer card, or you add 1 discarded cost as a resource.
A lot of
And
and/ors. You mean and/or.
yeah, and/or. And
Not
I feel like
and/or.
this is one of those cards it looks very good initially, and it is. And the floor with it is very high. And then if you look at how like Ferocity is sort of like tempo advantage, and you have all these KO synergies already built in, and you have all these like, if you're running a really heavy Ferocity deck, you're probably also running like maybe Ambush, or you're running all these cards that want a lot of these 1-costers in there. So now you're able to like just really capitalize between Ambush and Magical Melody. You're doing all these things, and you're getting all this like really fast tempo early game, along with you're getting more resources right away too. This is a great card to get more resources. I played this combo, I want to say, with Tactics, and special with a card that hasn't been revealed yet, and I got it like a bunch of times, and it was pretty great. I had more resources than I knew what I was going to do with.
So you did, and you didn't use any of them. So the one I will say on this one, and you played against her, so you can attest to one of these matches, Sammy. The one deck I saw this in during the tournament was Stacy. And let me tell you, Magical Melody is not good when 19 of the cards in your deck are 2 and 3 costers.
Yes.
Makes that Magical Melody hurt a lot, and most of them didn't have KO effect.
Yeah, you definitely need to have KO synergy, and you definitely need to have 1-costers. But if you do, this is amazing.
I will just say, yeah, the way that she had played it, and you can tell me if you felt the same thing, but watching you guys' match, the minute she played it and whiffed on the entire card, I knew that she had lost.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That was
an
a big
immediate.
moment.
Yep, that was an immediate. She needed those 2 resources to do something,
and didn't.
Right. I think this is one of those exceptions to the rules where we preach and we talk about, you don't build your deck around cards, you build it around your familiars. But this is one of those cards where it's like, that's still true. However, you do need to make sure that the card at least pops. You do need to at least try to get to the ceiling. So there
If you
are,
play it, you gotta feel good.
yeah, there are some cards where it's like, okay, I need to, I need to have it popped off. Jelly Cane comes to mind, where if you're running only certain, powered cards, you're not getting the full effect of that card. And so I think Melanie is the same way, where you do need to have certain cards in your deck just so that you can pop off. But I love the options that card provides, and it is something. It is not a feast or famine, but it is one of those cards where if you do whiff and you don't hit anything, it is such a defeating, because of so many options on that card, and you don't hit anything. It's like, oh, that hurt. Like, I might as well just call it, So
But the games where you get like a really good Magical Melody and then like a really good Ambush like right away, you feel like $1 million. Like you're just so ahead.
Well, yeah, I
and
mean,
your opponent has to do so much to deal.
it is my favorite current ferocity card that's in the game. And I would say, to Gareth's point, it's not that you need to have your deck built around that card. It's a magic card. It works great with the B. Depending on what other style you're playing it with, like, I don't use it as much in mono ferocity anymore. I mean, you can, but I don't. But I like finding the other synergies of, like, a really good example is Sam's hatred for Fuegel. Well, Fuegel lets you unexhaust a resource. So now Magical Melody, the KO effect says unexhaust a resource. Magical Melody just costs 1. You also then just got to add one of the cards you flipped as a resource. Maybe that's Fuegel, because you didn't actually need it. You had 1 in play or 1 in hand.
Yeah.
And let's say the other card is, just for a moment, it's what if the ceiling was, I told you it's a Crochet. So now for 1 resource, after all this, for 1 resource and 1 card discarded, you got to pull a Crochet out of your deck and get a VP. You got to ramp. I mean, that's, again, if that was like the ceiling, it's still a pretty good play. And that's not the ceiling. Like, that's the funny part. That's not the ceiling. So,
Right.
and that Crochet is supercharged, right? Because you're playing it with Magical Melody, so it's supercharged.
Yeah, it gets +2.
Right. A 4 power guardian. Oh.
For one, and you get all those other things. So
for 1, you ramped and got a 4 power guardian and a VP and a move. I love the card, but yes, watching it, it did feel like that was. I didn't need to watch that. That was the end.
Mm-hmm.
I did watch, but I didn't need to. Gareth, what's your card of the week?
All right, so I went back all the way to the starter deck, just based on a conversation that was had in the Lops event. So kind of glad that I got to go last, because this card has been called a staple by some. It has been called the most overpowered card by someone recently, and this is Lucky Hat. This is a roller coaster of a card. So I watched and had the honor, and I don't mean that sarcastically. It was extremely fun to watch and to sit in. But I got the opportunity to judge the one of the semifinals. So what's that?
John and Kyle.
No, Chase and Kyle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Chase and Kyle. I would say outside of the team and some of those matches, this game 2 was probably one of my favorite matches to listen to and to sit to experience, not necessarily because of the level of play, but just because of how tense it was, because it went back and forth. It was very tight. Kyle would shut down Chase would try to come back, and it was very, very tight until the very end. But the conversation, so spoiler for that event, Chase won game 1, Chase won game 3. And at the very end of that conversation, basically the conversation turned into the only reason why Chase won those games was because Lucky Hat exists. And so, for me, looking on this past week and looking at Lucky Hat and seeing how long it has existed in the set and in the play pattern, the value that people put on it, and the fact that people say, this is overpowered, it's a staple, it has to go into every single deck. Rarely do people play it as a support. From what I watch, the average person plays it, for that reduction of power. Sam's over there nodding his head, like that's how he plays it too. And
That's how it seems
basically,
like.
Yeah, the conversation. Oh, that's right. You don't play tactics.
Yeah.
The conversation was, hey, this card shouldn't exist. It's too powerful. The only reason why Chase won, was because of you're able to reduce a one cost and turn it into a free card. And so I wanted to just kind of talk about it, get y'all's thoughts, because clearly I think that there are ways to counteract that. We can,
Okay.
you can make cards more expensive, but I know that the three of us probably all have strong opinions.
Can we do just one piece of math here for a minute?
That's why I brought it as card of the week.
3 0-cost cards. Lucky Hat, Foxtail Necklace, Sacrificial Bond. Now, let's just do a little bit of math here for a minute. Lucky Hat opens the door for you to play a 3-cost card round 1, which is incredibly powerful. However, it is 1 resource, 1 round. That's it. We're not talking about if you have 2 Lucky Hats, because then if we want to get into the math of 2 Foxtail Necklaces versus 2 Lucky Hats, it's not even a comparison. The Foxtails are better. And you look like a chump for even suggesting that one was really good and the other was like, okay. So you get 1 resource. That's it. So you paid 1 card to get 1 resource, but it opens the door for you to get a 3-coster in at the start of the game, right? Randy, I play a Foxtail Necklace round 1. What do I get? Minimum. What do I get?
Extra 3 resources over.
Well, let's say a game only goes 2 rounds. What do I?
An extra resource.
So I get the exact. If a game only went 2 rounds, I got the exact same thing I would have gotten from the Lucky Hat, except for I didn't open the door on the 3-coster round 1. Instead, I raised the ceiling of round 2. If the game goes longer than 2 rounds, which right now the average is 4 rounds, as Randy just pointed out, I got 3 resources. Is 1 resource on a 3-coster round 1 better than 3 resources over the course of a game? Well, I don't think you can make the argument that it is. Because if you play Lucky Hat, and then I flip my inspiration, and then you play a Turpian, and you score 3 points, Gareth, I have 2 resources left. I can do a ton of things, but let's just, even at 1 cost, I can auto-ult it, I can drill attack it, and your entire Lucky Hat is literally gone. That's it.
Right.
You got the VP from the Turpian, great, and then I knocked it out and got a VP, and you have no creatures on board. You burnt a Turpian and a hat. I burnt an auto. That's it. You played the Turpian and you burnt the hat. I drill attack it. Enjoy repaying for that Turpian. There is so many counterplays to the hat that it makes me like, real talk, unless your first turn is hat then whistle, a hat was better used as a support. Because what is better, 4 cards possibly over the course of a game, again, let's ceiling, what's better, 2 cards or 1 temp resource? 3 cards or 1 temp resource? The game goes 4 rounds, is 4 cards not better than 1 temporary resource?
Right. No, I think listening to the game and watching that game played, I think it is I wouldn't even say it's the shock, because you can see it coming, because you have to play the Lucky Hat, then you have to wait. But it's as almost like, just as an example. I'll come back to what I was going to say, but it's like playing against someone ferocity and not planning for a decree.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's in the starter set. So like you have to know that at a base, if someone's playing tactics, there's the option that every card they have can be reduced by 1. So
I had no idea you could pay 3 and move something and knock out my familiar, Gareth. What do you mean you have
Right.
Sune Stick? What is this card? Like,
Yeah, and so it was one of those situations where it was such an impactful game 2 that I was watching, then for game 3 to be like, "Oh, well, it's because Lucky Hat." And it was like, that's such a hot take because, like, I've seen the level and I don't know if it was the frustration, I don't know if it was the like I said, I don't know how it could be the shock because you see it coming
No,
of
it's
not being able
the
to
reps.
it's not being able to play around it, but it was one of those things that it still, as someone on the other side, it still shocks me when I hear, "Hey, this card is overpowered," or "This card is a staple." It's like there's so many answers to the Lucky Hat. There's so many, in my opinion, cards that are of the same value or better. Um, I love special, so I love, trying to get as many resources as possible. So, getting those foxtail necklaces out and just trying to be crazy and have, 10 or 12. So like that's my play style. That's where I lean towards. But then when you see a game and you see something at the level that they were playing in game 2, that's why I wanted to talk about it a little bit because it's just that shock of saying, "Hey, that's such a powerful game. That's such a powerful card. That card shouldn't exist, or it doesn't exist, or this is why it doesn't exist in other games." And it was like, but it does. And it's balanced upon so many answers.
Well,
So
this might be
Lucky
a
Hat.
this might be a slight hot take, but I actually think the primary value of playing Lucky Hat is not in its that it lowers a cost of a card, is that you do nothing and you give it back to your opponent, so you're kind of getting behind them. And in
Which
situations
again,
where that's important is the reason, like, so we made it so, and it isn't even like that good, but it is annoying, right? So the reason, like, you used to be able to put Lucky Hat back in from the Badoo, or you used to be able to pick Lucky Hat back up from the Evolution, and we got rid of that because, not because it was broken, but because it was like annoying in a way that's not how we wanted the game to be played.
well, it wasn't just Hat though. It was the other one, which is, as Gareth said, there are better things. If your primary function of it, which Chases is to play slow like molasses so that your opponent wants to just end their life, you have strength training. You just play an Ignite and hit it with strength training. And now I'm behind you. I have 4 power and a Guardian on the board. And we just go slow that way. Again, there's better options. And if you're trying to get like the resource generation is a thing, I brought up even Sack Bond of like, you play your Amptar only to just like your opponent's like, "Oh, that's an Amptar," and you're like, "Not anymore. Now it's a resource and a VP, and my familiar got bonus power, and I drew a card. LOL." Like again, it's
No,
an
but
effort.
I do agree with Randy though. I do think that there are plays we've watched, and Chase is an example where they will play the card, yes, to reduce, but it's also not to pass. It's
Yeah,
also
it's
to pay
like
the
slow like molasses. It's annoying
Yeah.
for sure.
But it still surprises me that people don't put it into support. There's so much value. You don't want that extra card draw. Like you don't
Well,
see that as being valuable.
with Chase, no, because Kindle.
Correct.
Well, that slow play also adds more value to Judge's Decree, right? So if you're running, like, when I run Ferocity, I don't main deck Judge's Decree, but I might sideboard it if I think I'm going to run into people who are going to like play really slow.
You
And
just said
then,
Johnny Chase.
if they're going to play out like that, if they're going to play real slow and they're going to drag it out, well, I'm just going to punish them with Judge's Decree.
Yeah.
Because then you can't do that anymore. You have to deal with the Judge's Decree in other ways.
What do you think, Sammy?
Sammy, what were your thoughts?
So for me with Lucky Hat, I look at it again as somebody who has not really played tactics, but playing against it. I see it come out, and I'm like, okay, so I know they're gonna throw something big or something. If they played it on maybe their second turn, they already played something little. It's like, okay, they're gonna get something else medium out, whatever, whatever the case may be. It's not one of those cards that I look at and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna die now when I see Lucky Hat come out onto the, like, saying Lucky Hat itself being played to win a game. It is kind of a hot take to me. However, I'm going to say, and you guys have been making this point this entire time too, I swear I completely forgot it even had a support ability because I don't think anybody has ever used it against me. So
Yeah, card draw is terrible. That's what I've heard. Card draw is the worst, and 4 cards over the course of a game would be terrible.
yeah, it's the worst.
1 resource does not equal 4 cards, guys. Just saying.
Like, I was sitting here looking at this, I was like, oh, this looks like a support that I need to be thinking about when I take a swing at Bidoo.
It's like the reverse problem of Self-Amulet, where no one uses the play effect when they should.
Mhm.
They always support it. That has the reverse problem of...
Yep.
So when we had Take Flight, right? Same way when you brought up Take Flight last week. Take Flight was great because that is about 50-50. We see it played for one or the other. That's great, but like, boy, those one costers for some reason just... Nope. You know what else suffers from this though? Shaper, because no one uses the swap Z's on Shaper either, which is embarrassing.
I played against somebody who did recently, and I'm blanking on who it was.
Was it
And maybe
Mario?
it wasn't recent.
I think it was Mario. Mario uses this.
I think it was.
Yeah, because he plays one, supports one.
Yeah,
But yeah, I just, the hat thing just...
that's wild.
Hmm.
That is wild.
Yeah. Plus, I thought it would be a good transition to the Lops event, so I brought it for 2 reasons.
True enough. So yeah, about the Lops event.
It's over. It's done. John won. But he didn't win until this next Saturday, when him and Chase play.
Got it.
No, John beat X in 2 games. There was not just, it was not, they were playing completely different games. One was playing Wild Hearts and the other was playing a different game of Wild Hearts. And John just rolled over him. And then Chase and Kyle, and I'll say this, Gareth, it's like when we talk NBA games, and it's like, what's the difference between good coaching? That's the Kyle Chase thing. Kyle made adjustments going into the second game, took the second game, made it competitive. But then going into the third game, played what he was still playing in the second game. And Chase then made adjustments.
Yep.
To win, Kyle had to make more adjustments, but without having the reps in, did not make those adjustments.
Yeah.
So
Unable to calculate what he figured Chase would do.
Yes, and again, then the problem is Chase saw the tactics in 2, knew how to play around that, and now, so... The thing too of, like, we've talked about this before, Decree is great, but like, Decree is Allen Iverson in the NBA. He could win you a game here or there. That's not the winning formula. It's like a gimmick. You can hit him with it, and you can take a round or a game maybe. But once they know you have it, and they know your familiars, and they know your deck, it's much easier to just say, you're not going to decree this.
Yeah.
But then they can't play really slow. So it just kind of depends on what you're modifying. If you
Well,
want to modify their behavior.
They have to play a different kind of slow. They have to, like, set up that first round where their slow makes it uncomfortable for you the whole way through.
Yep. Or in the case of Chase and Kyle, like the risk of decree was too much. So if Chase was leading in the fields And so, yes, technically, Kyle could have decreed, could have potentially gotten lucky, but it was a risk.
Yeah, he didn't risk it the way Jonesy did on JJ to advance in that one tournament.
Mhm.
Oh, it's a shame.
And
That's a
then
shame.
when Jonesy did the same thing against me in a game and also backfired.
Yeah, again, judge's decree giveth and taketh away.
Yes, indeed.
So yeah, Saturday at 1:00 Eastern, so noon Central. John and Chase will be playing in our Series 1 Lops Championship. Kindolf Vesperoon on the side of Chase against Chrism and Tarantula on the side of John.
That's exciting.
So a Might Ferocity, a Might Tactics versus a Might Special. Ferocity Randy again is unrepresented in the finals. Rip Ferocity.
And I think John said he's going to be streaming it in the Discord, so anybody can see his side of the game.
Well, their game will also be shared. The table link will be shared. I will make sure of that. So if you don't want to watch a stream and listen to John shit talk Chase, you can just look and watch the table, because anyone can spectate a table.
Fair. Well, that's good time.
Saturday. So super exciting. Event number 1. After that, we'll talk about future events.
Yep.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So with that, we've got a few questions today, and one of them in particular I thought was pretty fascinating. Some of them, well, I say some. One of them we've actually already kind of covered a little bit in earlier discussion tonight. So I will start with one that I thought was kind of fun. Just straight up, how do you improve at the game?
Play the game.
Yeah, I think for me it's the amount of getting out of your comfort zone, of not playing the same two familiars. Play a game, then play a rematch. And one of the things that we did a lot in the early testing is we switched decks. It's like, okay, now you play these two, I'll play these two. And then watching the same deck played by a different player. Or going back and, drafting if you have the amount of creatures, or especially if you're playing in Tabletopia, mixing it up. Don't get comfortable, I think, is the easiest answer I can give.
So we used to do Wild Hearts Roulette, where we would come to the table testing. This is physical and digital. We did it both. Randy and Gareth have both done this. I've done this. Everyone has had to do this. You come to the table with, let's just say, make 10 decks. Go make 10. All of them need to be different in some way. Just go make 10 decks. And then we're going to come through. You're going to pick one of your 10. I'll pick one of mine. Cross them off the list. Pick another deck. I'll pick another of mine. Cross them off the list. Those repetitions, we talked about this with those repetitions, help you. You have no interest in playing Skyson. That's okay. But you need to be able to see the lines that open up when you play Skyson, because you will see it against you. And if you don't have any interest in playing Jelly Game, that's okay. But you need to be aware of all of the different lines that every single look at the top 2 cards opens up for the opposing player. And to do that, you need to be in the driver's seat.
I will also say that.
Oh, go ahead, Radis.
I also say that, like, kind of almost memorizing the cards or learning the cards. So like when I very first started on the team a long time ago, I learned the game, and then they gave me the card list, and then like go make cards, go make decks. And so I went home and I sat and I looked at all these cards over and over and over again. So I like memorized them.
Obsessively.
I memorized all the cards in the list. So then, when you're playing something and you see people play something, you're like, oh, they played this, and I looked at all these cards, and I know like the synergies between these cards is this. So therefore, like the lines in his hand have to be this, or this, right? Like for optimal play. So therefore, now that I know this, I know what I need if I have any chance of playing against him. And sometimes you overthink, like, I know I've played where I panicked about a certain line I thought was coming and it didn't because they didn't have the card.
Didn't even have it in their
But
hand.
at least you know, right? At least you're planning and you're thinking about it.
Well, and I would be remiss because he does not have his camera on. I would be remiss if I didn't for Gvader plug the Tamer challenges. Sammy, when you were playing against them and grinding games, do you feel like you were more familiarized with your deck builds and cards that you were putting in?
Yeah. I mean, just seeing what am I gonna tweak in this deck a little bit? Okay, this didn't work. What do I wanna try a little bit different? What can I attack this point that's a pain point for me in the Tamer Challenge deck? Um, yeah, definitely just getting reps in on different cards and seeing what you can do with them. Familiarity is definitely a huge thing too. I remember thinking back 20 years ago now, playing Star Wars miniatures on Vassal, where you're just moving your little icon for the figure around, and uh, it didn't have the stat card on screen or anything like that for the miniature. I just started playing so much of that with several hundred miniatures in the game, I didn't even have to pull cards out anymore for my figures or my opponent's figures when I was playing on there. I just knew what every single one of them did. Um, so just repetition and familiarity are definitely a big part.
Yeah, if you're still at the part where I say Shaper Magic and you need me to read you the card of like what it does, guys, there's not enough cards in Wild Hearts to not know what all the cards do. So like I would just say like, yeah, you should know what the cards are. But a really good example is we've done how many casts, just the four of us. How many cards has Sammy said to everyone, guys, my opinion on this card has changed, and what did it change from? Not sitting in his room looking at the cards, playing the game.
Yep. Yep. And I'll say I I can preach it better than I can act it out. I'm not as great at memorizing everything as I used to be, um, which is sometimes what gets me into trouble. Is a card pops up that I'm not expecting playing
Yep.
against people in Wild Hearts at this point. But that's definitely, I mean, that's a skill to have if you want to get good at any kind of game like.
So just to kind of piggyback on Chris, I think this is going to sound stupid, but we used to say it all the time in testing. Read the card, because I think that there's a lot of times listening to these games and watching these games, players think it says something that it doesn't, or there's nuance to the card that they don't realize because they assume that the card says something that it doesn't. And so they'll play a card and then they'll watch it be played. Like, oh, it can do that. Yeah, it absolutely can do that. It doesn't say you can't do that. And so I do think that slowing down, reading the card, and asking questions. Hey, what is the intent of this card? Is it supposed to do this? I think it does this. Is that right? Because there are times where, especially like the up twos, you can choose different things. You can choose 0. You can choose not to.
The Mario fan incident, Gareth, of reading cards and knowing effects, where he did not remember Shaper Magic is not meant, and block does not cancel your own card's effects. It's opposing only. You have to reset your own creature if it's the only creature in that field.
Right. And so I think those two things, playing and slowing down and reading the card and making sure you fully understand what that card does. I think that's what sets you apart, because then you start to see synergies you didn't see before, or you don't impulsively think a card does something and then you play it and you go, oh crap, that's not actually what I wanted to do.
Mm.
I think those are the two big things for me.
Playing is a huge one too. I remember when John first started in the server, he was playing games like constantly. It was
John was grinding 3 games a day, sometimes multiple days a week.
yeah.
So if you look at the 2 people that are in the finals of this Lops event, they have collectively played more games than everyone else on the server that isn't staff.
Right.
Outside of that, individually, I'm not actually sure anyone that's not staff has played more games than them, or even close to as many.
Mm-hmm.
And I would still say that those 2 in the finals would still get rolled by Randy, myself, or Gareth if we were playing. I love y'all, but no offense.
I'm a Care Bear. I don't know about that, but
Oh,
All right. The second question we had, that first one was from Dankest Dad, by the way. Shockwave submitted the other 2 that we've got. The second one is the one that kind of got addressed earlier already. Was kind of a question about future change ups or fields in Lops events. He was wondering what else could be teased. I liked the things y'all were talking about um, like it all just being different regions of the same field, like it's different things like that. Was there anything else you wanted to say about that? I feel like that was answered pretty well earlier.
I can say that the likelihood, we have discussed this, likelihood is that the field promos will not always be legal after the event. They're more just for fun.
Which is true of rooftops.
Right, rooftops is not, when we get to like series 1 qualifier or things like that, the rooftops is not going to be a legal field. It's fun for the event, but it was not, it's for anyone who understands like how hard it is to balance a trading card game. When we do the Lops events, our first goal is fun.
yeah.
And so, because our first goal is fun, Randy might be communicating to everyone that, hey, we're doing a mastery that is ridiculous, it's stupid, and it's broken. It's only going to be for this Lops event. That may be true of the field. Maybe true of Gareth is going to tell you all that you have a 3rd familiar. And here's the 3rd familiar, but it's not, you're never going to be able to have a 3rd familiar as a default outside of the Lops event. There are going to be things like that moving forward, because I think I speak for everyone. The Lops events are just meant for us to do what we did this time. We took away your diaper and your training wheels. There is no inspiration. There's no free movement.
Yep.
That's gone. And that was really fun. But, we made the field to goof around with some of the stuff thematically, and it was meant to thematically be like you're jumping rooftop to rooftop.
Mm.
With this Harai group causing so much trouble in Sumner City, the chase and confusion and chaos was rooftop to rooftop, and that translated to the design team having it shift, field to field.
Mm.
And then that, like, those 2 things just flowed together. So like, I can say that there'll probably be promos that we give out that are just fun kitchen table promos. And there'll be promos like Determination, where the team is really dead set on giving you a different look at a mastery. Because I think anyone that's played like Tornado or Skyson, you don't necessarily really need that inspiration the same way that other people do. But maybe a mastery that lets you, you're playing Tornado. I'm going to double strength training round 1, and then I'm going to put them back in my deck. That's really good. That's really good. And that feels like, whoa, what? And you're like, yeah, I just did that.
Yeah, I think for us, from a design perspective, we try to find that balance of, if we're going to give something that is very special to a Lops event, then potentially there's going to be something else that's playable in the main game. So going into the inspiration, maybe the inspiration this time is, for lack of a better word, broken. And so it's only for the Lops event, or it's only for the kitchen table, but then the field can be mixed in as a promo. Or the opposite, if let's say that you have all 4 fields, you don't bring any fields, all 4 fields are the same field for whatever reason, then something else may be potentially something that you can add into the TCG. So trying to find that balance with, the fun, the creative, the crazy ideas. I think that a Lops event allows that. It allows that creativity. It allows that thematic, that storytelling in a card game. But then it also removes the balance of, you can't play this in a competitive game. It's only for the Lops. But here's this other thing that we're also adding, and this you can add in. Maybe it's not as powerful. So, yeah, I think we're being very intentional with working with the design team of saying, okay, where do we want to go? Do we want to kind of go crazy with the inspiration, or do we want to go with, a special resource, or whatever that may look like, or something more thematic in the fields? So,
I like it. All right, the third question was the one I was kind of most excited about too, also from Shockwave. There had been mention in the Discord about, people were talking about draft and stuff like that, and then it was mentioned, hey, that's kind of what the archive packs are made for. And so his question was like, whoa, 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 whoa. What's the setup for that? How's that work?
So I said put a pin in something earlier, and we'll come back to that. The draft right now is really just you. So the original thought when we put together Wild Hearts was that the normal booster packs were going to be built for draft. So if we're putting a pin in this, originally when we sat down, and these two can expand because we played proof of concept draft a lot. If Wild Hearts was doing, let's just say, 1 set a year as an example, the booster packs would be made a lot like archive packs, and the rules would be very similar. So depending on how many players you have at the table, and obviously archive packs would be different than like set 1 packs, but every pack has a field, a familiar, a token, and then a certain amount of common cards, uncommon cards, etc. And so the easiest way to do that is, if you have 4 packs in front of you, open those packs, pull out the familiars, pull out the fields, and then you're going to draft the rest of the cards. And drafting those cards is super simple. 1 pack at a time. You're going to pack, you're going to pull a card, you're going to pass it. Let's just say for the first pack, it's clockwise. For the second pack, it's counterclockwise. That way you're not always passing cards to the same people. I'm pretty sure that's a pretty standard draft.
Pretty standard, yeah.
But when we originally were putting together set 1, having the 32 familiars, the rarity of those familiars, even right now, is built so that we have 4 legendary familiars. We have 4 rare familiars. We have, a certain amount of uncommon and a certain amount of common. And then you have the broken misfit toys that basically got shoved into the starter deck because The ability to break the unique rule was too powerful in draft, so the owl had to go. Prism fit. Prism is like the one familiar, like you don't really need to build a deck around because it just doesn't care. So I say that the Jelly Cane is also, but Prism is it to like the nth degree. So he got shoved in there. We've all played in Fernander. You need a lot of discard to really get him online. So he couldn't be in draft because it was a really big disadvantage. And then Ferrotoon giving you the chance to just draw one every turn. I know we have been told by tactics players with Lucky Hat that draws back.
Nobody wants to draw.
But we learned with Ferrotoon that actually, hold on, the math says it's really good. So those 4 got put in the starter deck, and that's one of the reasons that they're in the starter deck, is we just thought, like, those are not our draftees. And so you had 28 familiars in draft, which was a really good variety. Choke on that, Star Wars Unlimited. Learn how to do draft even better. There's 20 some fields. Again, choke on that, Star Wars Unlimited. Star Wars Unlimited was like, we have 8 leaders, and I'm over here going like, 8? Gareth, how many do we have? There's 8? Good Lord.
Yeah.
Get to work, people. Jeremy Zorin, what were you thinking? Danny Schaefer, 8? Come on. And really, there weren't 8, because 2 of them were more powerful than the others. So there was 2, and then there were 6 losers. Unbelievable. So that's how draft would work. With archive packs, it's a little bit different, because obviously archive packs have a little less. But if you have a booster bundle, which is 8 packs, that is enough for 2 players to draft in a really fun way. If you, Sammy, have a single archive booster bundle, Gareth on the manufacturing side, everyone on the design side, it is built to you and your son can play draft out of that booster bundle. You each, you split the packs. You take one, I take one. Boom, boom, boom. We have 8 packs in front of us. Pull out the familiars. Of course, in the archive packs right now, because of the card pool, there is only 8 familiars and 10 fields. And then there is not enough cards for you in draft right now to play mono. Whereas in the full set one, playing mono out of draft was actually very possible and really funny when it happened. Gareth's everyone tells stories of Gareth's all ramp all day where he was like, guys, I have 14 resources and I have 2 cards in hand, and everyone was like, okay.
But I had fun. That's what mattered.
That's what mattered.
Yeah.
I didn't win, but I had fun.
No, it was fun. It's a great story. It was hilarious.
We still talk about it.
It was basically in draft. It was Gareth keeping ramp cards from everyone else at the table. He was like, I'm going to be the only one at this table that has ramp. I'm going to make sure of it. And then he just ramped to the moon for no. It's
amazing.
Oh my god.
So what about deck restrictions?
Yeah.
Style restrictions. How does that work in draft?
Well, yeah. So the deck restrictions in draft, because of full set 1 pool not being there, they're gone. So you still have to pick 2 familiars, but you're not restricted to those 2 styles because that's not the way cards are collated. So then you can get into some really goofy stuff where Garrett's over there running Trossum Tornado and he's playing Fury Potion on something, and you're like, what? And
This is how we get Sam to play tactics.
Yes. Because this man is playing his Glaciafly Chrism, and he's like, guys, this is a lucky hat. And everyone's like, and he's like, yeah. I was told it's broken. So I just put it in the Chrism Glaciafly deck. Guys, draft.
Randy, you're quiet.
Randy
I was
hates
just thinking.
draft. Yeah, he hates draft.
You love draft.
No.
I do.
Randy has actively told me, Sammy, if draft is in a TCG, he's less likely to play.
I will, before Randy talk, I will go on record of saying my favorite memory is playing draft with Randy. Like, of all of the games we have played, me and Randy have had some great experiences playing draft. It has been a pleasure. Anyways,
Thanks.
Garrett
Yeah,
has
that game
10
was.
cards in his hand. What if Randy plays a card that makes him discard down to 3? How about
yes, that has happened.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
that? Was... Go ahead, Randy. What were you thinking about draft? Why were you in your...
No, I mean draft is great. I think is the yeah. I mean with the possible changes, I guess. I mean it just is. I guess we'll just see where.
See, now, guys, Randy is fantasizing about going back to a full set and having full booster packs that allow Randy to do the type of abusive things he used to do to Gareth in draft.
Love it. Love it.
No, but it was fun. So when Wild Hearts was originally built before the series model, the idea was, is there not should we just do it and like force it? But like the question, and Randy would ask this because we would, walk and chat a lot of like, who isn't it for? Because you had cooperative, you had multiplayer, you had solo, you had head to head, and then you add in the fact that the original idea was the one field, one familiar, and then the, common, uncommon, rare token cards. And so now you've introduced limited, and now you've introduced draft. Who wouldn't want to play Wild Hearts? And I think that original build was great, but obviously,
yeah, I mean we've played draft without the restrictions, and it is fun. It is pure chaos though. Like it is to Sam.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah, to some of your builds, it's like, wait, you're not supposed to play that, but because of the card pool, you do have those. But the pure draft.
we've all played a might deck with 2 judges' decrees. It's happened. It's filthy. Takes a while to get there, but you'll get it.
Yeah, it feels wrong, but it's like that's what the rules say. So
Welcome to draft, baby.
And I just like playing limited, either draft or sealed of just about anything. So that all sounds fun to me, especially the chaos bits of it. So that sounds like.
Yeah, if we had restricted with color, this was actually a funny conversation, because if we had restricted to color, the idea of like, let's say you're at the LGS and it's you and Randy and 2 of you guys as friends, and you're sitting down, you've got a box. And the original box was like 4 of you could play out of a box easily. Right. So like you open that box, but now because you took, you opened your familiars and you're like, oh, I'm going to probably try to draft around Might Special. And the cards get passed to you from Randy, and there's just this really nice variant card in there that looks cool and pops. You can't draft that though, because you can't even play it with the current familiar setup you have.
Right.
And so removing that restriction let players like, it's not organized play. Draft's not organized play. So it wasn't, it's not like it was built to be like this fine-tuned once head-to-head thing. It was meant to be like, what's the most fun you could have at the table? Cracking packs and
Yep.
So
And that's a good way of thinking about it, I think, because again, so much of limited of draft is just let's just have a good time. Because I've said before, I'm a degenerate. I like ripping packs open.
Yeah.
If I can rip a pack open and make a deck too, let's do it.
Well, and then by the end of the game, to see your support row, and it's like Take Flight Sylph Amulet and Fury Potion, and you're just like, look at the rainbow, guys. It's so beautiful.
It's great.
And then obviously your organizer for that draft event, guys, gives you a little trophy if you can get one of each style in your support row. You get the little trophy, the little badge, right? That's like, you did it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Well, all right. That was a good answer. That was gave me things to think about for when I have cards coming my way, ways to convert that and make my friends who tell me they'll play anything limited actually do it. So that's exciting. I like it. I like it. Any thoughts? That was the last question. Anything that anybody else wanted to throw out there that we didn't discuss earlier? Follow the
Why
Kickstarter.
aren't you following the Series 2 campaign?
Yep.
You know who you are. I'm looking right at you and talking to you. Why aren't you? Don't answer. Just go follow it. Don't be that person.
Yeah, and I will say from our perspective, we are going to be those people who have multiple campaigns, not that are live at the same time, but
That's not awesome.
but yeah, I know, but like the follow pages. So Academy is something that we're still passionate about. We have some hopefully some exciting news coming in the next couple of months about some potential changes. We'll see. But that page is live for the mastery mode.
Look at that Tortu art.
I love tour.
Look at him.
Yeah. And then for champions as well, looking at creating a preview page for that. So it's one of those things that we aren't going to stop creating. And one of the things that when we formed this company, the passion was we have these designs, we want to share those designs with people. And so that is something that we're going to do. And we're going to work through those hurdles. So yeah, get out there, follow the campaigns, make your voice known, and tell people about Wild Hearts.
We didn't even talk about a mini skirmish game.
Yep.
Love it. Great answer. Well, all right. If nobody has anything else other than follow the campaign, I guess that will be it for this episode of Tamer Talk. I have been Samuel Graham does TCGs, and with me has been
I have not been about.
Gvader.
Thanks for being here. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.